Reb Shimshon b'Reb Sholem, Reb Aaron b'Reb Meir, Reb Zev b'Menachem Mendel, Hoisha Esther bas Moshe Yitzchok Isaac, Vesoisha Tzipora bas Avraham Doiv, Vesoisha Kreindl bas Reb Shloime Zev, Vesisha Neche bas Reb Tzvi, Vesisha Mindl bas Reb Yosef. As we continue our program, I must relate to a very touching, legendary note written by the Almana, the widow of one of those special neshamas that ever walked through the doors of our Beis Medrash, Reb Shimshon, Reb Sholem, Dr. Shimshon Rosenberg. And after his passing, she penned the following golden note. Through all these agonizing and heartbreaking times, what's kept her afloat is the thought that her husband, Reb Shimshon, found in our Beis Medrash a home with warmth and friendship and holiness. Thank you. I will set before you a tale of 46 years of Mesiras Nefesh. The 207 years ago, I assumed the position of Rav in White Lake. There was a very impressive inaugural ceremony. It was attended by some extremely prominent public servants in the community. By name, Supreme Court Justice Lawrence Cook, Sheriff Joseph Wasser, and the town supervisor, the mayor. And when I began my remarks, I took note of the fact that even though we're very honored to have them on our program, but the order of the speakers themselves might prove to be a disaster. but thank the Almighty, it worked out fine. Because if I had been the first speaker, followed by His Honor the Judge, and then the sheriff, so in fact I would have come before the judge, and the sheriff would have been after us. But this would work out fine, because first the sheriff spoke, and then the judge, and then I spoke. So the judge came before me, and both of us were after the sheriff. After I assumed the position, with courage and enthusiasm, we began working and spreading the word of Torah and to enlighten all the darkened areas of the community with our Torah. And the results were very gratifying. There were individuals who began putting out film. Mishpachas who observed Taras HaMishpacha, family purity. There were families that were became Shemer Shabbos. Bochrim we sent to yeshiva, amongst many, many other things. And the results were extremely gratifying, even to the effect that there was a radio program, Morning Devotion, and I would speak on Erev Shabbos for 10 minutes. And I received one morning, after I spoke in a series of 3 about Taras HaMishpacha, I received a letter with the following return address: AWL, Bronx, New York. And it was addressed to me, Rabbi Fishbain, White Lake, New York. I opened up the envelope. Inside was a cashier, a bank check, with some 36 2 times high, and it was signed A.W. Listener, Listener. And the letter read the following: Dear Rabbi Fishbain, your message on Taras HaMishpacha had a positive effect upon my husband and myself. Enclosed is a small token of gratitude, a woman listener. It was laden with tremendous mysterious nefesh, our work. We ran into a juggernaut of ill will, of arrogance and ignorance. And it's best described like the story they tell about a Russian and Romanian Jew who met after Sukkot, after the war. And the Romanian Jew was priding himself that his sukkah covered with such magnificent schach, the fragrance of the flowers and the leaves on the schach was so magnificent, and it filled the sukkah with a beautiful, a very magnificent aroma. And he turned to the Russian Jew and he said to him, my dear Jew, what did you cover your sukkah with? He said, I'll tell you what I covered my sukkah with. I covered my sukkah with mysterious nefesh, self-sacrifice. The Russians apprehended me for making a sukkah. I was sent off to Siberia for 10 years. That's the story of what we put in here, my Rebbetzin and myself and my family. What we put in here 46 years of Mr. Nevish in White Lake. We have no regrets whatsoever. We would do it again. It was worthwhile. And the first big controversy we ran into was when they were planning a 50th anniversary dinner. And they sent on a search party. The search party came back very excited. They found a hotel that the price is excellent, unbeatable, the cuisine is magnificent, and the kashrus, well, that's a different story. And it's like the story they tell about a community that was looking for a shochet. And they told me The requirements are he must be a Talmud Chacham, a Yirei Shamayim, a God-fearing man, and a Sonei Besa, that money cannot sway him. They found the one. He has all of these requirements. Only one problem: he wasn't a shaykhis. But here, only one problem: wasn't kosher. So one of the Hamishi women turned to the the crowd, and he said, it's not a Boy Scouts dinner; it's a dinner of a shul. It has to be in a kosher hotel, so my husband and I can participate. And those of you who unfortunately do not observe kashrut, it won't hurt you to eat one time a kosher dinner. And the vice president remarked, he responded, he said, Mrs. Weissman, believe me, it won't hurt you to eat one time a treifa dinner. This was the type of crowd we were dealing with. In addition, they're moving to our community a bungalow colony. They took over a bungalow colony, a Hamish crowd, a Frum crowd, an Orthodox crowd took over a bungalow colony with 175 bungalows. And they wanted to build a mikveh. So they came to me and they told me they want to build a mikveh and they want to make a groundbreaking ceremony. They want to invite the town supervisor to the affair. So I said, just a minute. I have a feeling it might not be that push-it, that simple. Let me inquire by those other communities like Ellenville or other Monticello, wherever in our area that build mikvahs, what exactly took place. They all told me you should definitely stay away. Have no thoughts whatsoever of trying to get a building permit before you build it. First build it, b'diavad. Once it's built, you'll have some legal battles. You'll hire a lawyer and you'll straighten it all out. But don't perish the thought of asking for a permit before you start. So I turned over this report, and I told him, he said, don't dare. Man Hashem, don't look for. They said, so Rabbi Shul was a tired Yid, a legendary Balzoke. He said he wants to live good with them. I said, don't do it, but all right, you do what you want. So he sent a message to the town supervisor. He wants to make a groundbreaking ceremony. He wants a honor, give him a honor of written ground. It didn't take but 24 hours, and the chairman of the board of our neighboring temple, he did the dirty work for them. He came with the response from the town supervisor. Don't build, he couldn't even say the Hebrew. Don't build your mitzvah. Don't build your mitzvah until you get a building permit. That began a legal battle that lasted a year and a half. One of the objections was, they said, they planned to build the mikveh way in the back of the colony. So they said one objection was that the building department cited it's going to be a traffic hazard. I'll make it a traffic hazard. I'm married. Our kisser, after a year and a half of legal battle, they finally gave him permission to build a mikveh, to take an old building. Instead of building it in the back where there will not be a traffic hazard, they made him build it, took an old building in the front, which is right on the main thoroughfare. And so this is what we were dealing with. Adding up all of these controversies, we finally had to go our separate ways. We opened our doors, and Erev Rosh Hashanah, and sure enough, the same gentleman, the chairman of the board, who made problems for the one that made other problems, reported us to the building department, and we were under a $50 a day fine for having a sign advertising that this is a synagogue. We had to remove all signs, and we're under $50 fine, and we must get a building, but we can't daven there. Can't daven here. We were able, Baruch Hashem, with grace and serious nefesh, and only through the help of an attorney, a very prominent attorney, with his know-how and his brilliance, he fought it through, and we were able to open our doors, keep our doors open. One of the first Labor Days, following our opening of our doors, we had scheduled a bar mitzvah, a Russian Ingele. And he came to me, the parents came to me during the summer. They said, yeah, he studied. Oh, Gewalt, I was listening to him. Here's the Birchas HaTorah itself. It was any resemblance to that, and to Ivri is, my goodness, purely coincidental. I kids, we tried to help him, whatever main thing I was interested in, let him have the mitzvah and put on a pair of tefillin. That's the main thing. Anyways, that was Labor Day, and about a half hour, an hour before we daven, the phone rings, and I pick it up. Then you have minyan this morning. On Labor Day, the whole populace, our village becomes like a city during the summer. And then on Labor Day, it becomes like a village again. The Dervel werd our Shtetl, the Shtetl werd our Dervel. So there was only a few minyanim here in the area. They call it, when you have a minyan, I told him, what? Kunst again, to above every yid, see Melaveh Konreich, Zichron Levracha. And we daven, Kriyas HaTorah, and he manages to struggle through the Birchas HaTorah, the Russian Ingele, and this Bobber Chosid comes over and says to me, I would like to say something about our bar mitzvah you don't know. In that magnificent Oxford English, classic English. Why in the world I would have invited him to say a few words if you know Russians sitting in a Russian that are estranged from me, Torah mitzvahs, sitting in a synagogue, their attention span is this little. But for some reason I let him speak. He gets up and he says, my dear bar mitzvah boy, if I could have, I'm changing up, if I could have a bar mitzvah like you, I'd be the happiest man in the world. I was bar mitzvah in Auschwitz. I was a member of a family of 250. The Nazis wiped them all out. I was the only one left. All I had with me, a remembrance from my mishpocha, was a pair of tefillin that I always carried in my back pocket. And wherever I went, I kept on always checking to make sure it's with me. That's the only, from all the ashes, that's all I had. I escaped from the concentration camp. I joined the Russian army. We're traveling. The only sanitary conditions available to us was when we passed the stream. We go into the stream, rinse ourselves off, and continue marching. After one such stop, I noticed I don't have the till. I turned to the Russian commander and I said to him, I lost something very valuable. I want to go back and find it. It'll only take a couple of minutes. The commander shouted at me, you go back? We're pursuing the Nazis. We don't leave any traces. You go back and I'll shoot you. So he said, I don't care. You can shoot me, do what you want. That's more than life to me. I fell on the ground crying, and my tears softened the hardened Russian commander. Not only did he let me go back, but he sent with me 2 soldiers to help him to make it much quicker. We went back, we found the field, Baruch Hashem. Found them, put in my pocket, and we continued marching. The war ended, and I found myself in Paris. In Paris, somebody introduced me to my Azer, introduced me to a young lady. We had a chasne, married. It was a few years after the chasne, and there was nothing in the way of a mishpacha coming. So we were referred to a big specialist. Specialist sat with my wife. He asked her all her history, her background, and she told him that during the war, she worked under the Nazis in a munitions depot, and every morning in Leipzig, and every morning they would give all of the girls some kind of potion, some kind of pill that was supposed to make them sterile. The doctor says, young lady, you don't have to go any further. I unfortunately examined hundreds of girls who went through the same thing you did. Medically, there's nothing we can do for you. You have to make peace with the thought that you cannot have any children. With that report, after we left the office, like the whole sky came down on our heads. Here we had hopes of rebuilding what the Nazis took from us. And we had no idea which way to turn. We moved to America, moved to New York. We found there a specialist to help my wife, and today we have 30 grandchildren in Yerushalayim. If you know, like I mentioned, the attention span of people who are estranged from Yiddishkeit sitting in a shul, they're not interested in anything. They want to get out. They want to get out as quickly as possible. They were glued. They swallowed like somebody who hasn't had a drink for weeks. They swallowed every single word. The end result was that this young bar mitzvah bocher, we were in touch with him, we worked with him. He left after the summer. Eventually, he went to a day school, went to Shirtane. He married a frum girl. His children also go to yeshiva. This is also one of the most gratifying accomplishments of all of our work, which made everything so very, very, very worthwhile. The only lesson that we learn from history is that we never learn a lesson. And if, a nation that cherishes its past will always have a future. And some of the most horrifying, which you must always keep in front to remember, are some of the stories of survivors. One particular survivor who was stricken with a terminal illness, and he summoned his Rav to his bedside. He said to him, besides the tachrich, the shrouds that they're going to put me to rest in, he says, I have here my concentration camp uniform. I want that placed in the urn in the coffin beside me. Rabbi Rose said to him, my goodness, Moshe, I thought you'd want to forget all about that. What's the point? Oh my goodness, he says, you know, I tried to the best of my ability to be an observant Yid, Hashem Return, but I know I fell short of the mark. So when they put my misdeeds on one side of the scale and my deeds on the other side, the misdeeds might weigh it down. So I'll then take in place the concentration camp uniform on the side of my deeds. And I'll plead with the throne of justice, with the Kis Yaakov, take into consideration, look what I went through, look what I suffered, only because I'm a Jew. And that'll certainly weigh down the scale. When the war finally ended here in this World War, this Holocaust, some 700 yeshivalites found themselves in Shanghai, and the first boatload, and to the great credit to the Malkah of Rabbi Melaveh, he supported all that whole yeshiva throughout the years of the war. And